and welcome to our lecture video. This video will talk about how to integrate technology. And when we talk about technology integration, we're talking about how we can implement student-centered technology in the classrooms in a way that is student-centered in comparison to being teacher-centered. In this module, we will explore a sample lesson plan, and that lesson plan will be a technology-infused lesson plan. In doing so, there are 3 activities that will go along with this module. So we will take frequent breaks in between certain parts so that you have time to complete those activities. Before we begin, let's recap. Turn with your table mates or in your online groups that have already been assigned and discuss what is technology integration and how can we integrate technology. As we recap and you're considering the answers to these questions after you've had time to have a conversation with the people in your group or at your table, please jot down some things that resonated with you. Moving forward, misconceptions. Many assume that technology integration is simply incorporating instructional videos into the lesson, but it's much more than that. Now, all of us can relate to this because when we first started talking about technology and integration, that's when we had a lot of teacher-centered technologies. And as I've stated before, we're trying to move to student-centered technologies. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat, and of course, having this chat will come along with an activity. So what may be other misconceptions when it comes to technology integration into the classroom? While we consider that, we are going to move to the second part of activity number 2 and fill out some information. I want you to list 3 misconceptions that resonated with you while participating in your roundtable discussion. So something that you felt was a misconception that you had, or a friend of yours, a colleague, coworker, one that came up now, one that you previously had. It doesn't matter. I just want you to take a minute, reflect, and jot at least 3 of those down. Now let's get to the good part. Talking about technology in the classroom. Some technologies are teacher-led while others are student-led. I know you all are tired of me saying this, but this is the most essential part. The goal is to move toward more student-led technologies. We want our students to become creators of technology rather than consumers. The overall goal is for students to engage in academic content through the use of technology. That way, they are gaining skills to become more successful citizens in more than one way. Here's activity number 3. So before we go into the next couple of slides, I would like to review this activity with you because as we're going along through those slides, you will need to jot down some very important information. So you have your guiding questions and then we have our responses. I'm going to go through the guiding questions so we can consider the answers to these questions as I'm going through the video. So first question is, what do you notice about the lesson description? What elements did it include? Would you add anything else to it? Next, what do you recognize about the sequence of this lesson? Did the lesson begin with the use of technology? What was the instructor's role in the lesson? Do you believe it was the role of the students throughout this lesson? Do you notice how the state standards are incorporated through this lesson? Do you feel as if they were aligned with the activities? How does this lesson differ from your traditional lessons? Do you recognize the technology standards incorporated in this lesson? What purpose do you feel that they may serve? Did the lesson activities meet the intended objectives? How so? What are your overall thoughts on this lesson? So I know this is a lot to consider, but these elements are very important when we're talking about creating a technology-infused lesson. Now, we're going to dig into this lesson. And I know I've previously stated this, but as I'm going through the elements of this lesson, please fill out your responses. or just jot down some notes of some things that may capture your attention or stand out to you. Okay, so we'll start with the assignment description. Students have come to the final days of Area and Perimeter. So this lesson has been created towards the end of a unit. During this time, students will be reviewing recently learned skills to ensure understanding before students embark on a web quest. So now, we mentioned this in the intro video about using a web quest. So web quests are very techy and it's very student-centered because everything is there and the students are able to take ownership for their learning. But we'll talk more about that later. The web quest will entail becoming a designer for animal enclosures at the local zoo. But first, there are a few skills students are required to know before embarking on such a quest. As the students complete the task for the web quest, they will review basic concepts to ensure the student has obtained the necessary knowledge to complete required tasks by watching a Number Rocker YouTube video. So we've added instructional videos, but the students are accessing those rather than the instructor projecting those on the board. Students will grab a partner, so now they're collaborating, and they're going to draft their zoo enclosures to have the opportunity to collaborate and work together with their peers. Next, students will begin to think more comprehensive about how they plan to design their zoo. So they have to use critical thinking skills here. Now, students are going to listen to a vocabulary video to ensure they understand the differences between area and perimeter. So again, another instructional video, but the students are accessing this in a kid-friendly way. And finally, the students will design 5 animal enclosures for new animals at the local zoo. So now they're having to use all this information that they've learned and generated from online resources, and now they are going to create something. They're going to design it. So now they're being creators instead of being a consumer. And finally, students will have the opportunity to complete a challenge. So now we are even given the opportunity to extend the lesson, and they'll do this by solving real-world problems that involve area and perimeter. So now we are connecting to real life. Here are our Texas State standards for area and perimeter. These are the standards: 3.6 geometry and measurement, 3.6C, 3.6D, 3.7, and 3.7B. So 3.7A and 3.7B. These are the standards that are aligned with area and perimeter for 3rd grade students. Of course, in your lesson, this is where you will put your content specific and skill specific standards. Okay, so now our technology standards. These are very important. This is something that may be new to a lot of you because this is how we incorporate and integrate technology into the lesson. And as I read these off, think about what I was saying a couple slides before when I was talking about how the students will have opportunities to do these things. Because whenever we're creating a lesson, we want to make sure that the lesson is aligned with each step. So each step is aligned so that it flows well and it's easy for students to follow and understand. So we have the ISTE standard number 2, where students are going to communicate and collaborate. So they're going to interact, collaborate, and publish with their peers. And then we have standard number 4, critical thinking, problem solving, and decision making. Students have to think critically, problem solve, and make decisions all on their own. So they have to plan and manage activities. So they have to figure out how they are going to get all of these activities done within the allotted time frame. And then standard number 6, technology operations and concepts. So students will have to understand and use technology systems and select and use appropriate applications effectively. So now students, now that they're creating their enclosures, they have different choices that they can choose from. However, they have to select an application that is effective and productive to the outcome. And so now these are objectives. So objectives are very similar to the ones that we write in an everyday lesson. Nothing extra here, just detailing what the students will do. Now this link right here to WebQuest for Students, I'm going to show you how simple it is to integrate one of these into your classroom. So here is the website, and it's called Quest Garden. Here you can search for any WebQuest, for any content, grade level, anything that's tailored to you. You can also create an account and create your own or develop your own WebQuest. So you'll see here, everything you need is already created for this lesson. However, even though everything is created, there may be some additional steps or things you want to add or take away so that it better meets the needs for you and your students. So we have an introduction, and then it goes over the student's task. It goes over the process. So within the process, you have step 1, step 2, step 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you'll notice the different links that will take them to what they need to be successful, all the knowledge that they need or background knowledge. Then we talk about having an evaluation. So you can use the rubric that's here or your own rubric that you create. There's a conclusion, and this is where the extension video is. And then there's also a teacher page. So here's a lot of resources to teach you and help you use this effectively and adapt it to your needs and your students' needs. Again, a WebQuest is a great way to integrate technology into any curriculum, regardless of content or grade level. There are several websites with WebQuest ready to be used. So you can create one on your own or find a website that has one for you. Now it's your turn. You are going to get with your grade level and content area, or if you're using the online version, you will get with your groups that have already been assigned. Together, you're going to select a topic or a skill. You're going to locate a WebQuest using Quest Garden and select one from there, a WebQuest from there. And then you are going to create a short lesson plan that incorporates the use of the WebQuest you've located. So quickly, let's review activity number 4. Activity number 4 is just your lesson plan template, and you are going to have your lesson plan skills, state standards, ISTE standards for students, objectives, purpose, description, your detailed tasks. So WebQuest links and activities should be included in this section. Kind of like how I showed you that WebQuest had all of those steps. You would just rewrite those or retype those here, and of course cite where you got that information from. And then you have to create an assessment. So of any format, informal or formal assessment you plan to use throughout this lesson. And this is activity number 4. We've had time to explore a lesson and get with our colleagues to develop our own lesson. Let's reflect on these questions. How do you feel now that you have taken some time to integrate technology into a lesson? Do you feel that this is something you can do on your own? And lastly, how can you see students reacting to this teaching method in comparison to the traditional lessons?